Community Ecology Part 2, you're going to learn about competition and symbiosis in this video. So far, way back to the beginning, we've talked about classification of organisms using taxonomy, so the different taxa, domain, kingdom, phylum, etc. We've named organisms using binomial nomenclature. We've identified them with dichotomous keys. We talked about ecosystems, which have abiotic and biotic factors, communities, which are looking at only the living things in that area. In communities, we have relationships such as predator-prey, keystone species, and then today we're going to add on some other relationships. The other relationships we are going to discuss: competition, symbiosis. Competition is when you have two or more organisms that are going after the same resource. Different resources would be food, water, shelter, mates. There are others as well. Two types of competition. Intra, be careful with spelling because the other one will sound very similar. Intra-specific competition is between two members of the same species for the same resource. And actually it could be more than two members, but in general, same species, same resource. For example, let's say we have two male lions that live in the same savanna, so they're same species, same location, and they're fighting for the same female. That's intra-specific competition. Inter-specific competition would be members of different species competing for the same resource. So now we have a male lion and a male tiger. Doesn't really matter that they're male, but they live in the savanna, and they're competing for the same zebra for food. So different species, same resource, inter-specific competition. Sometimes we have competitive exclusion occur, and this is between two different species, so it's going to have to be with inter-specific competition, where there's some resource that's limited, usually food, but it can be space or anything else. One species does a better job of getting it than the other one. So if you look at the picture to the right, you have one barnacle, A, that can live in both shallow and deep water. In panel B, you have a second type of barnacle that really only likes living in the deep water. In panel C, when you put two together, that restricts barnacle A up towards the shallow end because barnacle B is better at living at the bottom. Look at that alliteration, BBB. Sometimes this leads to an extinction of a species, so a complete elimination if the situation gets bad enough. Here's another example. So let's say we have two different rodents. Over time, this one gets its cheese, it's happy, its population size is increasing significantly, it's doing well. Here's another type of rodent where it's doing well, its population is increasing over time, the line is going up. But if you mix these two populations together, like so, the one represented with the red line is better at getting resources than the green line. So the red line rodent can grow faster and happier, and it excludes the green line rodent who might eventually die out from a lack of resources. So far, relationships include predator-prey, competition, and here is a third category called symbiosis. Symbiosis, a close relationship between two organisms in which at least one species benefits. For the other species, it could be beneficial, and we use a plus sign to represent benefit. It could be harmful, which we use a negative sign, or neutral. There's no benefit, no harm, it's a zero. There's three types. We'll go through each, and we'll make the symbols for each and give you some examples of these relationships in real life. Mutualism, I like to think about it as friends with benefits because both organisms get something out of it. The symbols that you would put a plus, a slash, and a plus. It means both organisms benefit. An example would be the goby fish and the shrimp. The goby fish is nearly blind, and the shrimp maintains a burrow where actually both of them live together. If a predator comes near, the fish touches the shrimp with its tail as a little warning, and then both retreat into the burrow. So you can see that they are both benefiting. The shrimp is getting safety from the predators and warning. The fish is getting a place to retreat and somewhere to lay its eggs. Another example, think Finding Nemo, the clownfish in the sea anemone. Nemo, or the clownfish in general, gets to hide in the anemone. It gets shelter and protection. The anemone has stinging cells, so nothing else can really go by. The clownfish helps maintain the anemone, keep it clean. They both benefit. Another example would be the E. coli that lives in your gut. It helps you digest things, and you're providing it somewhere to live. Mutualism. Commensalism. I like to think of it as being used, being a tool. One organism benefits, the other one is not affected at all. It could really care less, it's just being used. This is represented by a +/0. Plus for positive, 0 for no effect. For example, if you look at the picture, there's a tiny little mite right there hanging onto the fly. The fly doesn't care. It's not getting any benefits. It's not being harmed. The fly is that 0 out of that +0. The mite would be the plus. It's getting a free ride wherever it needs to go. Hermit crabs and snail shells are another example. The hermit crab gets a shelter from the snail shell. The snail's dead, so it doesn't matter. It's not harmed or helped in the situation. +0 commensalism. The last kind is parasitism, and I like to think of this as, hey kid, do you want some candy? Stranger danger, where the stranger comes in and gets the benefit, whereas if a kid is kidnapped, the kid is experiencing negative effects. So in parasitism, one species of parasite harms another species, which is known as the host. This is plus/minus. Parasite is benefited, host is harmed. The host usually doesn't die right away, though. So think about, you have this tapeworm here, that's what that picture is of. Tapeworms live in human intestines, and they steal basically nutrients instead of your body getting them. And if you died right away, then the tapeworm wouldn't get nutrients anymore, and it would die as well. So this is a long, drawn-out, and sometimes painful relationship. Another example would be a heartworm and how that affects a dog. In communities we have 3 types of interactions: predator-prey, competition, and symbiosis. Competition can be within a species or between. Symbiosis, we have both benefit. One benefits, the other one doesn't care. And then one benefits, the other one is harmed. Since this all has to do with relationships, remember that theme of ecology, interconnectedness. Everything is connected. Your assignment, first you need to take the quiz. Then you need to complete the E-symbiosis worksheet. So this is like eHarmony for organisms. You're going to pick a relationship, whichever one you want, and research, do a little digging. Find 2 organisms that fit that relationship. The catch is you cannot use anything that I have already mentioned. You're going to fill out the profile for the organism who is searching for a partner. So mutualism, you could take either side. Let's say you did the goby fish and the shrimp, which you can't because I've already used it. You could be the goby fish seeking a shrimp, or a shrimp seeking a goby fish. If you're doing commensalism, you should be the organism that's getting the benefit. So if it was the fly and the mite, the fly doesn't care. So the fly should not have an E-symbiosis profile. The mite would be looking for a fly to hitch a ride. And lastly, if you're doing parasitism, you should not have, let's say it was tapeworm human. You should not have a human looking for a tapeworm. That wouldn't make sense. You would want to be a tapeworm looking for a human, and then you could be cunning and creative and evil and, because it's a bad relationship trying to find somebody to take advantage of. So be creative, have fun, and if you have any questions, let me know. Now that you've seen this video, you should be able to identify the 2 types of competition and what happens in each, and the 3 types of symbiosis.